this one a little bit differently. Starting here and going through the summer, we are going to be hosting the candidates for the seats in Bixby. Typically, we would host our actual seat officials. We have welcomed them all through session, so now we're going to try to get FaceTime for all of our partners with each candidate so everyone gets to know everyone that's running. And remember, whether they're running in your district or not, you are going to know someone who lives in their district, who has a business in their district, so it is important to get to know everybody, whether you can vote for them or not. This morning, we are hosting our Senate State District 25 and our Oklahoma Representative State District 67. It's Friday. Thank goodness. I am Crystal Crockett. I'm the president of the Bixby Metro Chamber, and I'm going to introduce our chairman of the board and vice president of Southwestern Federal Service, Steve Hobbs.
I'm Steve Hobbs, and as she alluded to, I'm the chairman of the chamber board of directors, and it is Friday. I'm honored to be here to help facilitate the discussion. I'm going to let Crystal do a lot of facilitating. I'm here to listen, just as any other constituent is. But I first want to thank our sponsors. Robin Decter with Farmers Insurance has been one of our sponsors of our events for this for a long time, and we want to thank her. Round of applause, please. As well as the place that we're at. Our host sponsor is Hampton Inn and Suites. So quick round of applause for him. Crystal, I'll let you take over for District 25.
Fantastic, yes. I would like to welcome, we do have 5 candidates for District 25 State Senate. First we have Robert Founds.
That's me.
We have Bob Jack, Lisa Kramer, Craig Murray, and Joe Newhouse. All right, help me welcome them. We're going to let everybody as well. And from House District 67, 3 of our 5 candidates were able to make it this morning. We have T Croisant, Tom McCloud, Scott McEachin, and both sending their regrets were Lori Wright and Zac Davis. And this morning, what we're going to do, I'm going to start with John. We're going to give each candidate a few minutes to talk about who they are, why they're running, and some of their key issues that they are running for. And then, if given enough time before 9 o'clock, we will have time for questions from the floor. You do have materials for each candidate in front of you. So please, again, take those with you, even if, oh, well, I don't live in that district. Again, you have a friend that does, and let them know, hey, I met all of your candidates today, and here's some material from them. Please take a moment to reach out to them, to get to know them. All right, John,
right.
I'll put you on the spot.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yes.
My name is T Croisant, and I'm a teacher at Edison, and I'm running for State District 67. I'm a Republican and a conservative. That I'm born here in Tulsa. I grew up actually at 83rd in Toledo, and I bought my parents' house about 7 years ago. So I was a Jinx lifer. I went to the University of Tulsa, I have a political science and education degree, and I've been teaching for 15 years, coaching soccer for 17. I know I don't look quite that old, but I've been doing it for a while. And what I'm seeing, and the reason that I'm running, is because we are not doing what we need to do with the legislature to fix the education problem. And even right now, when we've got $1 billion, shortfall, what are they doing about it? What are you seeing? Are they addressing the budget issues that we have? Are they fixing? It's not just the shortfall with $1 billion not in the coffers. It's what are you going to do when you fix that crisis that we're in now to get us better than 49th in the country in spending? And that's going to take some tough decisions. It's going to take some tough leadership. That we're going to have to make those decisions and say, you know what, what's best for our kids? Whether it's looking at testing, whether it's looking at the way that we do things in the state of Oklahoma. We may have to change some laws so that we can make sure that our schools have the money that they need to be successful.
Amen.
Right? And you know what? It's talking to, every person that I knock on a door says the same thing. Why are we not better at education? If Arkansas can do it, if Texas can do it, if Kansas can do it, if they can pay $50,000 or $60,000 to a teacher starting out, and we pay $30,000, where do you think our teacher is going to go when they graduate from OU or TU or NSU or OSU? Right now, they're being recruited to go to these other places. I've got, about a dozen of my own teaching colleagues, friends, that are now in other states. Teachers of the Year from Edison, where I teach, that are in Frisco making $15,000 more. And that's without doing the soccer team and the breakfast duty and the 6th grade team leader or whatever it is that we have to do just to make ends meet to get a little bit more for our families. We've decided as teachers that we're going to, spend our lives not making a ton of money, but giving back to the community, helping kids. That's what we're here to do. We're not here to push our own political agenda. We're not here to do anything other than help kids. And so leaving a job like that I love to come to the legislature, I would not do it if it wasn't for the kids and making sure that we make a difference. Somebody's got to fight. And so that's what I'm here to do. Right? Guys, thank you very much. John Croisant.
Well, my name's Tom McCloud. Some of you guys might know me as the publisher of Community Spirit Magazine. There's a copy of the magazine there. Done that for 16 years. I raised my family here in Tulsa on purpose. I love Oklahoma, and I made a choice to stay here. Every football team, first of the year, somebody, you may show up, you may be a really small team, you may be really slow, but there's some idiot on the team who looks around and says, "Let's take state." And everybody kind of grins and laughs at him and says, "Don't you realize that we are not very good?" But he has just set the bar to a high level, and it gives them something to dream about. I'm willing to be that guy in the state legislature. We're in a mess. We all know that we're in a mess, but we're in a mess more than just education. We're in a mess across the board. I've knocked over 2,500 doors in my district, the most ardent Republican voters. I can tell you that they are a bit disenchanted. They are upset about school funding. They're upset about a lot of things. But most of all, they're upset that Oklahoma continues to be in the bottom of nearly every category. And we all say the same thing. Why? I graduated from Tulsa Memorial in 1976. I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was almost 40 years ago to the day that I graduated, and my folks said, "Thank the good Lord for Arkansas and Mississippi, or else we'd be dead last." Well, it's been 40 years. How many legislators have we sent to Oklahoma City and back? And we haven't moved the bar one level, one bit. I've got some theories on that. I think that we quite often go down there and we wave the flag and we try to show everybody how conservative we are. And we pass bills like, let's make sure every American flag we buy is made in the U.S. Okay, I get that, but a third of our kids live in poverty in Oklahoma. 1 out of 11 Oklahomans will spend time in the state penitentiary. Folks, we've got to do something about this mess, and we cannot any longer be on the bottom rung. I'm an OSU fan. You got any OSU fans in the room? We bared with it and cheered for OSU all those years, but ain't it a whole lot more fun when they win? Oklahoma can win. I'm willing to set the bar. I would ask for your vote.
Well, good morning. My name is Bob Jack, and I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. For the last 46 years, that's what I've done. I have run small businesses. I have run large businesses. I have hired people. I've created jobs. I have been very active in chambers over the last several years, on boards of the state chamber, the regional Tulsa chamber, been active in this chamber, supporting other chambers, because I'm a businessman, and that's what businessmen do. Tom's right. We've got a bunch of problems down there. It's just not education. It's roads. It's mental health. It's criminal justice. It's the way we run our government. And it's time we send some people down there that have courageous positions in life and are not afraid to stand up and say no, or not afraid to say yes sometimes. That's the problem. We've got too many people that are making their decisions based on their vulnerability at the ballot box. If that's what we're going to do, if we're worried about career politicians and their willingness not to make the right decisions because they're worried about getting reelected, well, I'm not that guy. I'm way too far in my career to be worried about establishing a new career in politics. That's not what I'm about, guys. I'm about going down there and bringing business solutions to the state. I believe the school systems, I believe criminal justice, I believe every area where we've got a problem, there's a business solution for that problem. And that's what I'm about. I'm finding the best solution from a business. When I get into a budget situation as a company, we've got a major revenue shortfall in this state. We are now in the 12th month of a down revenue position in the state. We have a revenue problem in the state, and that's because we're just not driving enough business and enough issues through the state. But we also have a spending problem. We have a spending problem at higher education. I don't think there's we talk about secondary K through 12 education. Both my kids went through Union Public Schools, and both my kids went to state universities. One went to OSU and one went to OU. So I've got a divided house situation in my position. But I'm a supporter of public schools. But I'm also a supporter of the idea that we've got to go through some transformational changes in public schools. And we've got to have the courage to make those decisions. And right now, the legislature doesn't have the courage to make those decisions. And I think we've got to go look at how we can save money and how we can drive more money down into the classroom. I'm all for getting more money to the teachers. We've got a retention problem and we got a recruitment problem. And we've got to solve both those problems. And it's going to be that $15,000 delta between Texas and Oklahoma. We've got to figure that out. But we've also got to figure out we can only spend so many dollars. And yeah, we're 49th in state, but we've got to look at a better way. If that's where we are, fine. But I've been in business long enough to know that here's my pool of money I've got to work with. Now let's go figure this out. And let's find a business solution to do this. So a lot of problems in the state. I understand it, but I'm going down as a businessman, guys. I'm not going down as a politician. I'm not worried about re-election. That's not where I'm at. I am worried about making difficult decisions, and that's what I've done through my entire career. And I would appreciate your consideration when the time's to vote. Thank you.
Well, Kellen said, she promised me that if I talked about leadership at Bixby, that she would get Kramer to give me a political donation. So sign up for leadership at Bixby coming up next fall. It's a great program. My name is Joe Newhouse. I'm running for State Senate, District 25. A little bit about me. I've been married to my best friend, Laura, for 14 years, and we've got 4 kids together. I grew up in Broken Arrow, attended Broken Arrow Public Schools from K through 12. As a senior in high school, I spent as an exchange student over in Germany. Next year, I attended Georgetown University studying international economics. Afterwards, I joined the Navy, and I became a Navy jet pilot with combat flown in the Iraq War. After the war, they said, hey, that's a great deal for you. How about going to Pensacola? You can go there and be a flight school instructor. I said, yes, sign me up. Went there, taught dogfighting to flight school students, and finished my master's degrees by the evening. After the Navy, decided to move my family back to Tulsa. This is the best place to raise a family, absolutely. We still have normal people here, which is always a great sign. And I started my own business. I'm a small business owner, also in real estate. It's a real estate company. Back here, I worked part-time for Congressman Jim Bridenstine along with Brian O'Hara. And actually, Brian O'Hara and I both attended River Oaks Presbyterian together. Also, but I had a great experience working for a great man of Jim Bridenstine. And he stands for what he believes in. That's the same thing I want to do, going to the state capitol. So why am I running? I've got 4 reasons why I'm running. Rose, Will, Claire, and Luke, my 4 kids. I refuse to pass the reins of leadership to the next generation in worse shape than what I've inherited as. We've got to do better for our future. We've got to do better, much better for our kids. When I start looking around the state legislature, it's a mess. It's chaos down there, right? And either they're asleep to realities, or they're just too comfortable in their cushy jobs, and they don't want to rock the boat. Sometimes I think that there's actually more adult supervision at the Neverland Ranch than at the Oklahoma Capitol. They don't want to rock the boat. Thank you. But I do want to rock the boat. That's why I want to go down there. The two biggest things I'm seeing, as far as like knocking doors, just like Tom, is the economy and education. I'll speak to the economy. Here's the thing: we can argue all day long about budget cuts and what we're going to cut next, what percentages, etc. But here's what I want to do: I want to grow the economy. And what makes me different is that I'm a trained economist. I studied economics in college. I'm a small business owner. You know, like Bob, I understand how businesses work. We need to grow our way out of this problem. Let's make it to a point where we have such a surplus, then we're deciding, well, how are we going to spend the surplus? By sitting here trying to fight about the scraps at the table. So that's what I'm all about. And then number two, speaking as a veteran, I'm the only one here who served in the armed forces. Again, a combat veteran. Oklahoma, we actually send the most National Guard troops overseas per capita in the country. It's important for lawmakers to understand the military, but more importantly, having a veteran serve you, is the fact that from Military Leadership 101, we learned from day one, it's about serving others. It's the golden rule, put others before yourself, service above self. And last thing I'll say is that, having been a combat veteran, I fought for you in the past, and I will fight for you again. Vote for Joe Newhouse, June 28th.
My name's Craig Murray. I'm running for Oklahoma Senate District 25 also. I'm a retired Tulsa police officer. I spent 35 and a half years with the Tulsa Police. I went to the town of Mounds for 15 months as the assistant chief, and I've given that up so I could devote full time to my campaign. I look to God for that, because the fact is I gave up an income so that I could get out and do this. I was born and raised in Tulsa. My dad was a Tulsa police officer. Myself, my oldest son. We are the second family in the history of Tulsa Police to be a third generation. All I've done my whole life is serve the citizens, and that's why I want to continue serving the citizens. By going to the state capitol, I want to serve them in a capacity of knowing I've been on the streets with them, I've been in the homes with them, I've been in the schools with them. And the fact is, there are problems. And like has been said, education is not just about money. I mean, it's getting support. It's getting those teachers support and knowing that we do support them and we want to retain them. Yeah, it's going to take the money to do it, and we're going to have to tighten the purse strings. And to tighten purse strings means we're going to have to look at other avenues of doing things to do that. And it means there are going to be cuts. Unfortunately, there have to be cuts right now because the budget's the way it is. And people don't like that. They don't like tax increases either. But if we're going to do something, we're going to get off the bottom of the totem pole and build our way up, it's going to take doing something that people aren't always happy to do. And I'm prepared to do that. I've dealt with criminals for 37 years. Maybe going to the legislator may be a whole different story. I'm not a politician either, like the others in front of me. And it's a case of, because people are tired of politicians. They want somebody who's going to go in there and represent them and do something right for them. And that's part of what this is all about. Same thing with them having reasons. I've got 6 grandkids, 5 that are in the Tulsa area, that are in Bixby schools, Jinx schools, and Tulsa schools. And if they don't do well and survive, I know things are going to be bad. As a police officer, I know that kids have to have an education. It's not meaning that if we don't, they're not going to be criminals, but at least having something focused, keeping them in the classrooms, having them dedicated to something to do is what it's going to take. But it's going to be all of us working together, because that's what it's about. We're Oklahomans. I went to college in southeastern Oklahoma State University in Durant, however you want to pronounce it. I was a disc jockey there, so I don't mind talking to people and getting in front of them, doing things. And I was Super Craig in the nighttime was my air name. And so Super Craig's here in front of you. I just want to do what I can, and I appreciate you guys letting me come and speak to you today. Thank you.
I'm McEachin. After what Craig just said, I want to start with, I've never been a radio DJ, but I did want to grow up to be Vince Scully. This is a good place to start with the bio. So I was born here in Tulsa. And when I was 18 months old, my dad, who was working for the Texas company, not even yet Texaco, was transferred to Sacramento, California. And so we lived with the ups and downs of the energy industry. And so we went from Sacramento to Bakersfield to La Cañada to Walnut Creek to Walnut. And I came back to go to law school at OU and had the blessed good fortune to go on a blind date with Debbie McEachin over 41 years ago. On January the 23rd, 1975. I can tell you the pizza and champagne story sometime, but I won't. So to be serious a bit, we have 3 sons, and I think that it's important not only to know who we are, but I am becoming a huge fan of the question, why are you running? And the word I put the most emphasis in there is why. Debbie and I spent the last 5 or so years being involved with the policy type organizations, Heritage Foundation, Hillsdale College, AFP, FreedomWorks. So you can go to these events and you can all get fired up about how bad things are and how disappointed you are in the way that our politics seems now, or our politicians are able to operate. But at the end of the day, if all you do is go there and be angry about it, if all you do is go and talk about the problems, you really haven't accomplished it. There's a why, and the why is people. The why is the spouses and the children and the grandchildren that all named. We talk about this being problems for our children and our grandchildren. We have a huge national debt, and we talk about that as being a problem for our children and our grandchildren. It's not that far down the road. And my children are not hypothetical people. They're in their 30s and their 20s, and their names are Alex and Jeff and Doug. I would love to name my grandchildren, Debbie and I would, but we try to convince our sons that grandparent wannabes have a biological clock. They look back at us and they say, no. A lot of our problems come from the problems of federal overreach. And I want to just touch on that briefly because we have such a great congressman, and if you've never heard of the Freedom Caucus, of which Jim Bridenstine is a member, look up the Freedom Caucus, because the Freedom Caucus, they're the people on a federal level that are trying to stop federal overreach and try and send the money and the power and the control back to where it belongs, which is at the state and local level. You can know your House representative, you can know your senator, and thankfully we can know the congressmen and his representatives. But when you talk about a far distant capital, you're really isolating a lot of our problems. So we all understand that we have budget problems, we have leadership problems, we have courage problems. But look at Jim Bridenstine and what happens to Jim Bridenstine, the press, the criticisms, and the personal price. And that's one of the things that spurred me to run, is I've seen the personal price that Jim pays, the pressures. I said, okay, it's time to get in this game. Now, there's also a what to do. I have spent the last months, if you're a lawyer, you get some skills on research, trying to figure out exactly what total Oklahoma spending means. You can't find that number. That number is hard to find. About all you can do is find the Oklahoma spending clock. We appropriate about $7 billion a year. We spend somewhere around $33 to $35 billion a year. And so it's going to take, those of us who are successful, it's going to take a lot of hard work. Remember when the quintessential legislator in the state of Oklahoma was a guy named Gene Stipe? Was there anybody any uglier, any more corrupt than that man? But we are sending better people to the legislature, and we are sending more dedicated people to the legislature, and that will dig and will come up with real solutions. And so I'll leave you with this, two things. One is Jonathan Small, who's the president of the Oklahoma Council for Public Affairs, at an event about corrections reform, said, legislators too often are lagging indicators. Legislators need to be leading indicators. And to be a leading indicator, you're going to have to go down there and engage and pay attention and dig. And then last, thank you for your time. And hope that if you live in House District 67 on June 28th, you vote for Scott McEachin. Thank you.
I'm Robert Jones. I'm a businessman here in Oklahoma. I've lived here all my life. I live in Bixby. I have 3 kids that attend Bixby Public Schools. My wife and I have been married for 21 years. That's an easy introduction. Been in the restaurant business since I was 15 years old. We have extremely slim margins in the restaurant business. I've been well adept at dealing with budgets, all the way up to, mine. I think currently right now I run about $20 million in sales here in Oklahoma. I run the Oklahoma arm of a food service company. We distribute food equipment, supplies to restaurants all around Oklahoma. I got into this race because I got tired of watching what's going on up there in Oklahoma City. I got tired of seeing waste of time bills generated, run through, and all of our money being wasted on it, all their time being wasted on it. And what I plan to do is A, be in the way of those things. We have 8 senators in this area on the Democrat side. I guess I forgot to mention that. I'm the only Democrat running in this. I will be on the ballot in November, regardless of the primary in District 25. As far as generating income for the state, because these guys are right, we have to raise our revenue, not save our way to success. And by raising our revenue, I mean, everybody in this room, we're smart people in business for the most part. That's why everybody's sitting here. Can you think of many ways to do it quickly? And I'm going to go out on a limb here and just tell you right now, I believe that we need to get ahead of the curve, the trend in the United States of legalizing marijuana as Colorado did. If we don't do it quickly, we won't be able to profit from it as they have. We can profit from it, tax it, we can put that into our school systems, we can put that into our healthcare systems, and it's gonna happen anyway. We're just not making any money off of it, unfortunately. It's going to illegal cartels, all that money is strengthening them. If we are able to profit on it now, we can actually do good for our country, or for our state. And I guess anything else about me, what I believe in. I'm very reasonable on gun control, even though I'm a Democrat. I'm a lifelong concealed carry permit holder. Always shot competitively for a while. So you don't have to freak out about that with me. And I think that's about all. I'm running for State Senate, District 25, and again, the only Democrat. I'm not an accomplished speaker, as you can tell. I'm used to dealing with my employees, if anything. But I'll get better. Thank you guys for your time.
I'm Zac Kramer, and I'm running for the Republican nomination for Oklahoma Senate District 25. Robert is the only Democrat. I am the only female, as you can see. Just a little bit about myself. I am a native Arkansas girl, but I would really call Oklahoma home. I came to Oklahoma in 1986 and attended the University of Tulsa. I have a degree in accounting from TU and have lived in Tulsa pretty much ever since. I've lived in Bixby over 15 years. I have been married to another CPA for 23 years, and we have 2 daughters that are nearly grown, a freshman at OU that'll be home next week, and a junior that's taking an AP test this morning at Bixby. So I feel blessed to have the life that I have, and I do think that the best asset Oklahoma has is its people. In terms of work, as I said, I'm a certified public accountant. I've worked in the public accounting industry for Arthur Andersen after college, worked for the Williams companies in corporate SEC reporting, corporate finance, and also as an analyst doing due diligence for one of the subsidiaries. When I had my first child, I decided that I needed to put my priorities at home, so I stayed at home for 9 years. And when my younger daughter went back to school, I started working part-time. I worked in public accounting, and then for the last 7 years, I work for United States Beef Corporation, which is Arby's. We're the world's largest Arby's franchise in the world. We have like 327 Arby's stores. So it's been a great job for me to be a professional, but yet also be home with my kids when they get off the bus. And also it's helped me develop something that is dear to my heart, which is service. I have volunteered in nearly every capacity you could volunteer in at Bixby Public Schools. I've been on my homeowners board as president, treasurer, church secretary, Girl Scout leader, basketball board, basketball coach, lots of things like that. In the last few years, as my kids have gotten older, I've had the privilege of serving on the Bixby School Board. I'm in my 7th year for that. And I am also the treasurer for the Bixby Outreach Center. So I definitely believe in people. I have volunteered my time to serve our people and our schools and our communities and our state. As far as my platform, As an accountant, you might guess that fiscal accountability is a strong word for me, and I believe that we're sorely lacking in that. We are facing a huge deficit. We're not funding our core services, and I think that those core that we need to make, and we're not doing it. And it doesn't matter, you know, how great we are at business. If we don't provide core services in our state, businesses won't come here. So I think also as an accountant, we're doing a terrible job at the state level in terms of budgeting. We look at a one-year time horizon. We pass laws and we don't look at what this is going to do or how big this tax credit is going to get in 5 years, 10 years. We just kind of have our blinders on for that next year's budget, and we don't even know what those numbers are exactly. There is not a working accountant in the state legislature. I believe there's 2 degreed accountants. One became a doctor and one is a minister. So I think we need more people with financial expertise in the legislature. And as these guys have said, definitely people, not politicians, and I can assure you that I am that. As I said, I've been on the Bixby School Board. I'm in my 7th year. I have seen firsthand, as John has, you know, what the impact of the legislative funding has done to schools. And I can tell you it's just slowly choking it. Not to say that there aren't things that we can do to make it better, and I definitely believe in school reform and school competition. But I think the bottom line is that we do need to fund schools at a higher level. In Oklahoma, you could work for 34 years as a teacher and make the same amount as a beginning teacher makes in Texas. So I just don't, I don't think we can, I mean, I am a believer that you get what you pay for. And that, to me, the biggest investment, or the smartest investment we can make in Oklahoma is in a good education for our citizens. It's going to help bring businesses here today, and it will provide for skilled workers in the future. The other part of the whole education situation that is of grave concern to me is the morale of our teachers. Teachers don't work like you and I. They're not motivated by money, although they do need to pay their bills and support the families, especially single parent teachers. They work for a sense of purpose, some autonomy, and the legislature over the past few years in implementing the various reforms has had good intentions, I believe, and I definitely believe we need to have accountability in schools, and we need to have high expectations because it is important and we are investing a lot of money. But teachers have been left away from the table. They've not been included in the conversation. And in my mind, that has been disrespectful to teachers, and they are a profession. It is a craft in my mind. I know that I could not be a good teacher, and I admire them greatly for what they do for my children, your children, and our grandchildren. So just in closing, I would love to have your support. I truly believe in our community. I think that people in South Tulsa, people in Tulsa in general, we've got to have normal people there that will make hard decisions and will represent us. And if you ever have questions specifically, I am an open book. I will be glad to meet with you individually and would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
What an outstanding group of candidates here. Thank you for joining us. Can I get one more round of applause for all? We have about 5 minutes, Crystal. So if we have some questions, and if you have it directed specifically at one of the candidates or in general, we'll take 1 or 2 that we have time for. Rachel.
For everybody, just a simple yes or no. Would you support or propose a new tax or tax increase to pay for education?
Yes.
I sound like a politician. If I have to say a yes or no answer, I'd say yes, but I would caveat behind that. I would love to be able to explain my answer. Yes.
No, I'm not for any tax increases.
I'm opposed to the David Warren sales tax. I'm opposed.
5 minutes ago, 5 minutes.
That's not fair. I think
There you go, Joe.
I'm going to say one more last sentence. We can find the funding through reform of our business tax incentive program, which can be accessible.
I'll go with Tom and say yes with a caveat.
No, I would cut the income tax for the teachers.
Oh, yes, I absolutely would. I wish it was the sales tax or.
Is that any?
I don't know.
Yes.
you.
Susan.
Last time there was a vote to raise tax of some sort, the Indians were part of it, and whatever that tax that the people voted on, it zeroed out the budget and they gave it out to the back door. So, and a tax increase for why? To zero out again?
We need to make sure that if we're gonna create a new revenue stream, or if we're gonna go back and say, look at the income tax reduction that we've had, that if we're gonna give money to education, like with the Powerball, okay, with the lottery, well, we've given them 1.7%, but we've taken 7%, right? Or whatever money we would put in with the casino money, the state legislator would then take it right back out. And so they would just count that as money in, instead of on addition to. Okay, so we have to make sure that if we're going to appropriate money, you cannot take it away the equal amount that you're going to put in. It's got to increase the amount of funding, not just take out and then put back in to make it look like we're actually doing more.
The sad thing is politicians will always find gimmicks to get around this. It starts with changing hearts and minds of people to realize that education is the future of our country, quite simply.
If you look at the David Bourne tax increase, and look at the supplant clause in that piece of legislation, it could be devastating to this state as far as other funding down the road. We don't know, and Lisa brought up a good point of where we are 5, 10 years down the road, and I'd like to see where that number is 4, 5, 10 years down the road, and what effect that has on roads and mental health and criminal justice and all the other issues that we have in the state. So that's the reason why I'm opposed to that tax like Joe, because there's some danger in that tax that I don't think people really understand.
Republicans are doing a horrible job in managing the media, managing the message. And as I knock doors, I find the most ardent Republicans who say, well, I'm all for this Bourne thing, because they're just desperate in demanding more services and better services. But that's not the answer. And the Republicans actually have some good things going on, but we're doing a really lousy job of communicating those to the people. I had an opportunity to talk to the governor 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I heard her speak, and she just made us feel so much better in the things, the plans that were going on and so forth. And I said, why don't you do some fireside chats and get on social media? And she looked at one of her folks and she said, can we do that? And I was just as a marketing guy, I was just amazed that we're not doing a better job at communicating. So these most ardent Republicans are getting up and they're reading the Tulsa World every day, but they're never hearing the other side from the Republicans. And as a marketing guy, that's one of the things that I want to bring to the table.
Time for one more question. Brian.
You're talking about raising taxes. And though that sounds good, generally when you raise taxes, you affect the poor adversely. If you raise the sales tax, 1 cent to me is not going to hurt me. It is, however, going to hurt the poor. How are we going to diversify our tax base? Because sales tax clearly is not enough. Whether you go internet sales or whatever, what would you do if you're going to increase taxes and put a burden on the poor? In my mind, where is that tax going to come from?
Well, I'll start with that question. I'd like to look at the ad valorem taxes. I'd like to look at letting individual districts try and change the constitution so that if they would like to give money for teachers within their district, that they could do so. They're doing that in Louisiana and Shreveport throughout their state with their parish systems, that they can add a $5,000 or $10,000 raise within the Bixby schools, Jinx schools, Union schools. If they want to recruit teachers or maybe just lower their class sizes, they're able to do that. But that's going to take a constitutional change, and it's something we need to look at. And we also need to look at, we've given an income tax reduction at a time when we have $1 billion deficit. And maybe it's not increasing the income tax for everybody. Maybe it's just a plan where we're looking at over 200 or over 400,000, just raising it maybe a small percentage, just to make sure we offset some things until we do have the money in the state budget that we can go back down to 5 again, like it is now. I mean, Texas, they're paying high property tax. They have no income tax whatsoever, but yet they're doing a better job of funding their local schools. whether it be in Dallas or San Antonio or Houston. So there's a way to do it without putting, like you said, the money onto everybody on sales tax that's really going to hurt the poor people, because $100 to them, like to a single mother that's a teacher with a kid, that's a lot of money that they don't have. And so it doesn't hurt everybody the same way. Yeah, I agree.
Brian, the David Warren sales tax is a bad idea for businesses. It'll make us the highest sales tax state in the country. Bad for business. It's regressive, as you mentioned. So like a single mother trying to pay groceries is now being taxed on that to help fund this program. I support delaying the income tax reduction plan that will save our state $147 million. And then eventually, once our state gets back on its feet again, revisiting how we approach the severance taxes in our energy markets.
And Brian, I think the conversation has started in the Oklahoma legislature. I'm hearing current legislature, because what you asked was a philosophical question. How should we tax a 21st century society? And it's got to be broader, and it's got to be fair. And it's in the 21st century economy is a consumer economy. That's why we tend to be led to sales taxes. But everybody needs to pay something, because it involves you in your community. And the other thing is that we know there's a specific study about how money walks. We know that high tax states lose population, they lose business. Low tax states attract business and attract population. So you have, and you cannot talk about your tax philosophy unless you talk about your spending philosophy. You cannot talk about your spending philosophy unless you talk about the scope and size of any government entity.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. Again,
Can I ask a question? Or are you out of time?
we're actually out of
That's
time,
fine.
but I said
I'll
that,
ask individually.
yeah, everybody would love, if they're able to, we'll be able to hang out for a little bit longer. Again, thank you all so much. I know a lot of you have taken time away from many